How about them tops, son?
All day, SEC boys. SEC, they supposed to be SEC. Crazy all day, baby.
You're listening to the Red Out Podcast.
Welcome into another Red Out Podcast. I am Devin, and sitting with me tonight is my daughter Abby because my wife's putting up groceries. So if she gets a little loud, I'm sorry. You say hi? Can you say hi? No? Okay. She's a little shy, I guess. She's just sitting here smiling. So tonight we're going to talk about the Western versus Louisville game. We're going to talk about a little basketball news, preview the WKU versus Liberty game, and God knows what else we're going to get into. So we'll see. But let's see if we can get some of the other guys on here and see what we can get into tonight. All right. So anyway, guys, winners and losers for the week. I'm going to go ahead and say my pick is definitely Tom Brady. I think he just assumed that he could just slide into any team and just do amazing, and that was not the case, was it, Abby? No, it was not. Tom Brady definitely struggled. Definitely felt that he was 42 years old, and he did not do as good as he thought. No, he did not. How's it going, buddy?
Hey, how are you?
Doing good. We are just sitting here talking winners and losers.
Oh, nice.
And I probably stole yours.
What was yours? Was it the Dolphins?
I was going to say Tom Brady.
Well, see, it's true. Like, I almost forgot about that. I was watching him play, and it made me so happy seeing him struggle. But
Yes.
See, the thing with Tom Brady is that you cannot judge how he does until like December and January, and then the playoffs and all of that. Usually, when you think that he's done, that's when he goes on like some inhuman rampage and does a lot.
And
see, time is going to catch up to him eventually, though. It gets to everybody. He's not going to be exempt from that.
Yeah, I agree. But it is fun to watch him struggle. That's my big takeaway from all of that. Is definitely the Tom Brady struggle, because he, besides a few instances in New England, he really didn't struggle in the past decade. So
yeah, he's not in the AFC East anymore. He's got a rude awakening with the Saints and the Falcons. So I wish him good luck.
Did you see the meme where it was like, when do we play the Jets? And who was it?
Oh, yeah.
There's a great meme going around. I love it. So what winners and losers do you have?
Well, I mean, I guess winners is just football fans, because we waited this whole time. I mean, the pandemic has been going on. We weren't sure what the future was going to hold, but Saturday was great. There was football on all day. Sunday, NFL started back. I got to watch the Dolphins play the Patriots on TV. So, I mean, just football fans, man. It's good. I'm glad to be able to see everything, and everything's still going on despite COVID. But, I mean, at least they're being smart about it. They had the time to be able to prepare for everything, unlike college basketball season, which was kind of blindsided when everything started shutting down. There wasn't really much they could do to plan anything. But college football, the NFL has been able to plan everything, be able to do the tests and make everything work out so far. I mean, there's been some isolated incidences where there'd be a bunch of teams or whatever that are affected with players getting it, but that's just kind of the reality we live in. We just got to roll with the punches.
I was going to say, I think FAU is one of those teams that have had several players.
Yeah, they had a bunch. I don't know how many.
I think 17 was a number I heard the other day. I don't know if that's maybe right or not. Don't take it
or whatever.
And then, so my other question, going back to watching football, how weird was it for you watching the Patriots play without Tom Brady?
I will say it was one of the weirdest experiences in my life, because I became a football fan in 2003-ish. That's when I started watching the Dolphins, and that's when I chose them as my favorite team. And from that period until Sunday, I had been tormented by Tom Brady as the quarterback of the New England Patriots. And that's over now. Like I don't know. It's sort of like when you graduate and you
Yes.
wake up on the first day of school, and everyone else is going back to school, and you don't have to. You're just like, man, this is such a weird feeling. I feel like
Yes.
something should be going on. But I mean, Cam Newton though, he was still talking a lot of trash at the end of the game. There's still that intensity that rivalry game has, so it's not really going to lose anything. The Patriots, I mean, they're still going to be the Patriots. They still have Belichick. They still have Edelman. They still have a bunch of good weapons on that team. And I think Cam Newton was a really good addition for them, as much as I hate it. But he has a
I
totally
agree.
new, different game plan for the Patriots with the run and everything. And I see, and here's the thing: I knew they were going to lose that game because historically, the first time the Dolphins play the Patriots, they always lose. It's the second time, so I already knew it was going to be a loss to begin with. So.
My thing is, I think Cam Newton was a really good fit, and I agree with you for the Patriots. I don't know if he'll get Belichick out of just wearing the hoodie, but we'll see as far as his
Well, I mean, Cam
fashion
Newton's
deals.
fashion sense is definitely unparalleled. He's like the Russell Westbrook of
Unparalleled
the
is the
NFL.
nicest way. Yeah. Unparalleled,
Yeah.
definitely a nice way to put that. But yeah, I just I
Yeah.
agree. It was
And the
really
thing is the Dolphins had chances to win that game, but Fitzpatrick ended up costing them. And I'm really interested to see how long Brian Flores is going to wait before he puts Tua in there. I think it's just not going to be. Well, I think he needs to wait a little bit, at least halfway through the season, just to see if Fitzpatrick can even do anything. But if they keep losing like that, I think he might need to let him get some playing time and see how he looks, which I'm really excited to see how he looks as a Dolphin.
I agree. I'm sorry. I like Fitzpatrick, and don't get me wrong. Ryan Fitzpatrick is what has he got the highest score in the whatever that test is called, and that the NFL takes.
I think so, yeah.
But
And he's
didn't he
been in the
play?
league forever. I think he's played for just about every single team.
I think he really has. I don't think he's been on the Packers, but he's been
Yeah.
around the league. I mean, he's almost got his own meme basically. But he's amazing.
Yeah, he'll be the Packers
smart guy.
quarterback after Rodgers leaves at the end of the season.
Thanks a lot.
Well, I mean, they didn't do anything to help him at all. They drafted a quarterback with their first pick and didn't even do anything to build around Rodgers this entire time. So I don't know how long he'll stay there.
The thing with the Packers is they do this every year. They're going to make it to the NFC Championship. They'll lay an egg, and then they'll get knocked out, and all the Packers fans will be happy about it. And I'm just sitting here going, when are we going to win another championship? But anyway, I digress. So we have a basketball update.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to cover that real quick?
Just kind of brief. Today, the NCAA ruled, or at least decided, that basketball will start back November 25th, so a month before Christmas. That's going to be a good Christmas gift for me, just having basketball back. I mean, there's a lot of details that could probably go on with that. I know they're still working everything out. And I know there might be some more preseason tournaments that are in a bubble environment. I know they're talking about what's the name? It's the place in South Dakota. It has like some fancy name. They've done some basketball tournaments there. So they may have some different kind of bubble stuff like that. I think the conference tournaments this year will be a bubble for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to add any extra games or if it's going to be the same kind of format once we get to March. But just the way that the NBA has made the bubbles kind of come about, I think that you'll see college basketball kind of go the same route as well, just because it's shown that it's effective, which is a good thing. But as far as Western basketball goes, I mean, they've had some new additions. They got Noah Stansbury, Rick Stansbury's son, is going to be on there. I don't know how much playing time he'll get. He might be sort of like a Brad Calipari when he played for UK kind of deal. But, I mean, there's a lot of different weapons coming back. Charles Bassey has been fully cleared to practice now again, so he's essentially back to normal, which is great. And it's just the schedule still isn't finalized or anything. I think they're still trying to fill some gaps because they didn't know when the season was starting back or anything like that. But now that they have a definite start date from the NCAA, they'll be able to go from there. I guess the thing that sucks the most is that there won't be any type of hilltopper hysteria or anything like that. It's like the spring football games. They didn't get to have that this year. I don't see them having hysteria unless it's really distant and just limited tickets available. or
Yeah.
something like that. But I mean, that's just what we're going to have to deal with. I mean, there'll be limited seating into the arena. You'll have to wear a mask. They'll probably check your temperature at the door, and stuff like that. It's just going to be so different.
Well, okay, so first thing I wanted to mention while I didn't want to interrupt.
Yeah, you're good.
I hope that Noah Stansberry gets a tattoo that says "Earned, Not Given."
Oh.
For those of you who don't know, Brad Calipari's got an "Earned, Not Given" tattoo, which is the funniest thing ever. Second off, what Diddle holds? What do we say? 7,000? Is that right?
It's like 7,500.
So if they limit that to about 20%, get my handy dandy calculator here. That's 1,500 if there's 7,500 people. So
I would say 500 that would be students. At least.
I mean, I would think that they'd have to make at least 500 students.
Because I mean, I imagine you'd have the pep band too, and you have to take that into consideration as well.
Which did you watch the game Saturday? Right, the Louisville Western. Okay, how funny was that to watch the pep band be like one seat apart from each other and basically taking up an entire section? I mean, I was just watching it, and it's kind of the world we live in, like we've all been saying, but it was just funny. I was like, wow, that brings new meaning to everything. But I think Ross mentioned something on the new ticketing. I don't know if you've heard about that yet or not. I may just have him talk about it when he comes on.
Okay.
But anyway, so we'll fast forward a little bit here. After Saturday's win, John Haggerty got the Ray Guy Punter of the Week award, which I don't know how much I enjoy hearing about our punter getting awards, but he did a lot better than Louisville punter. He is the GOAT. He is. Roy Kroenke.
If I was an NFL front office person, I'd take him number 1 overall easily.
If I was the Browns, I definitely would take him number 1 overall.
Honestly, that'd be the smartest thing they could ever do because they don't have much of a chance anyways.
No, I mean, and that's the crazy thing is back in the day, the Browns used to be really good. And I mean, I don't know if
that was before my lifetime.
Well, I was going to tell you earlier, you were talking about Tom Brady's always been your kind of nemesis at the Patriots. I remember when, what was it, Drew Bledsoe was the quarterback there?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, now I'm showing my age. I'm older than Google, so.
That's true.
But, so congratulations to him. I mean, I watched the game. I will link the YouTube video. The full game is on YouTube. I don't know how long it'll be on YouTube.
For those of you that actually want to watch that.
Yes. I mean, I actually did sit down and watch because I wanted to have some talking points to for the podcast tonight. But even if you don't want to watch, there are highlights. I think there was a highlight somebody put up, and it's like a 25-minute video.
Here's the thing. I would watch the first quarter again, but I wouldn't watch anything else.
Well, I tell you, the takeaways I've got is, one, that kicker at Louisville is not going to be there long. I don't think he would be starting.
That muffed punt that he had that basically led to our first touchdown, that did not help them at all.
Well, I mean, of course, it was raining, so you kind of got to give him the weather. And then he had the blocked kick. Alexander blocked the punt, I should say. And Western got another recovery there. So there was 2, but I mean, he just had a rough night. That poor guy just was not, I don't know what it was, but he was not coming together very well at all.
It's still the first game of the season for both teams.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can kind of tell that there may not have been as much practice as there traditionally would be this season. I mean, all of the spring practices were basically canceled, and they had to pick up a lot later than usual, which I think that might be part of Western's problem as well. I mean, especially looking at Pigram. I mean, he did okay running the ball. I mean, he had a few decent passes, but overall, his passing game wasn't as good. I think there's a little bit of a disconnect between him and his receivers right now, but that's going to take time to iron out. That's not really something that you can just throw together with a new quarterback and new receivers too.
Yeah, I mean, he does. I mean, it sounds bad, but you can tell he's got his favorites. Jacquez Pearson is definitely one of his favorite go-tos. And I don't know if it was just me, but did you notice Josh Simon getting really kind of frustrated down there?
Yeah, he needs to target him more. He's arguably one of the
Definitely,
best people we have on offense. So
definitely. Josh Simon is a underused asset again, especially against Louisville. And I, my analogy would definitely be like the middle school dance. You remember when you were in middle school and it was so awkward and you were just trying to get, you didn't want to do something, you didn't think was, appropriate, yada, yada, yada. Well, it's kind of the same thing here. The guys are just trying to figure out kind of, what can this person do? How can I throw to this guy? How can we make this play work here, against this defense? It's a lot of learning and a lot of, they're going to make mistakes. I think there were a lot of positives of the night. I think Western could actually be in the top of the conference by the end of the year if everything comes together like it should.
in the same way that we all complained about Western basketball saying they need to get the ball to Charles Bassey, and football they need to get the ball to Joshua Simon because good things will happen.
Yes. I did not see Gage Walker in a lot. Did you?
No, but I did like the running back crew that we had. I mean, I think he was like a redshirt freshman, that Whittington. I was
Yes.
kind of impressed with how he looked, the back out of Georgia. Of course, Malik Staples, that's what really surprised me. He came in as a linebacker, and they switched him to running back, and he got the first touchdown of the season on that
Yes, he
short
did.
run.
Yeah. I thought Staples did a really good job. Whittington definitely great.
Yeah.
Um,
Moses is back too.
Moses, yeah, I saw that too. Gage apparently had 9 carries for 19 yards. I did see him in there, but he's definitely not getting the full share of carries this year like he did last year. We had 3 receivers that were thrown to.
That's not good.
Exactly. Jacor Pearson, Tinsley, and Burt Jr.
Mm-hmm. Which I will tell you, I was shook when I saw Burt for the first time. I didn't know he was number 11, and I thought Lucky Jackson was still out there. And I was like, wait a second. Didn't this man graduate? I mean, I wasn't going to be mad or anything, but I saw the old number 11 out there, and I was like, oh, let's go. But it's Burt Jr., so, I mean, he's still good. I think he'll get better with time, so we'll see. But I was definitely shook. I thought that was Lucky Jackson for a hot minute.
There were a few passes that okay, so I want to back up real quick. Are we going to call him Piggy?
Yes.
Okay.
His nickname is Piggy T. That's what they called him in Maryland too.
They called him Piggy T? Oh my gosh. Okay. So Piggy T, he had a couple deep passes he tried to throw, and he ended up overthrowing or whatever, but I think, and there towards the end of the game, I don't know if you noticed, but he just, like, the pocket would start to collapse a little bit and he just panicked. He's like, nope, done. He was 10 of 23 on the night, 129 yards and a touchdown. I think, if we could come back to this game at the end of the year, I think it would be a better game. I think we would be within a touchdown of beating Louisville.
Well, I mean, if we look on the bright side, at least we didn't get beat by an FCS school to start the season.
Yes. Way to go, Louisiana Lafayette beating Iowa State. Iowa State was ranked, 23rd?
Yeah.
And Louisiana Lafayette beat them 31-25, I think.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on that. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's pretty close. But yeah, I mean, here's my thing with the rushing game. Western had 5 guys. Louisville had 3 guys on there. Okay. And then you have, sorry. It kind of threw me there for a second because Louisville's actually the team had 1 carry for 17-yard loss on ESPN. I don't know what intern put that in, but that just seems weird, and I don't understand where that came from.
Because, I mean, just Cunningham alone had more than that.
Yeah, but anyway, Louisville receiving core, Cunningham was across the board. Just, there was one guy, Atwell, who had 7, but everybody else is pretty much equal. Fitzpatrick, Smith, Pfeiffer, Marshall, Ford. But then you go over to Western, we have 3 receivers who are catching the ball. So we definitely need to spread the ball out a little more and definitely get comfortable in the pocket. as far as Piggy's concerned. But there's a lot of positives, though. He's quick. That kid is quick.
Yeah.
Where like Stephen Duncan would go to run and he ran like a pirate is the best way I can describe it. 'Cause he was just so stiff, you know. And of course, anytime he ran, it was like, don't get hurt, don't get hurt. And I mean, I'm thinking the same thing now, but I think Piggy has the ability to be a Cam Newton quote S quarterback for Western. I think he's got a lot of upside potential for Western this year with Gage, and then you got Jakor and Josh Simon running downfield to catch. I mean, I think Western's got a really good offensive chance, and defensively, I don't know what you thought, but defensively, in my mind, Western was great up front.
Oh, absolutely. I don't know if you saw the meme that I put on the towel rack, but the defensive line with Jaden Hunter and Juwan Jones and D'Angelo Malone and all of them, they look great. But yet our secondary was what kind of bit us in the butt against Louisville. Like they were trying to go for that pick and it ended up getting caught by the Louisville guy. They had got burnt with some deep balls a few times, which led to Louisville scoring. So, I mean, the secondary, they lost Darden and everything. They lost Coco. He's going to be kind of a hard person to replace. I know they have Bradshaw and a few other people that are back there now.
Well, they still have Devin Key, too.
Yeah, but that was the thing that kind of sucked was the secondary, but I think they'll get better as the season progresses. But I mean, it's looking at the linebacker core and the defensive front. I think that's about as strong as you'll see in the entire conference. But if we can get the rest up to that level or even just a little bit under that, I think that we'll be able to hold teams under 21 points or more, hopefully.
I agree. My biggest takeaway, like you said, the secondary was definitely a handicap for Western Saturday night. But with like you said, Coco Darden and some of those guys leaving. I mean, Eli Brown looked really good. He had really good pursuit. D'Angelo Malone, he really wasn't as big a factor. He was a factor on a few plays. But I think that right tackle or whoever for Louisville kind of shut him down a little bit. But the thing is where he falls off, we need the other side to step up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, one of the touchdowns for Cunningham where they rushed it, I definitely think that was a slip up on the front. You got to keep those rush lanes. So basically, you have to stay in your rush lane whenever you're pass rushing, because if you go too far to the left or to the right, you open up a lane and the quarterback just ran right through, and that's what happened. So, and then of course the biggest slip up, well, probably what was that, first or second score where they threw to, what was that kid's name for Louisville? I think it was Pfeiffer. Yeah, it was that Pfeiffer kid. When he just basically slipped right through on a post route or a flag or whatever it was, and he just slipped right through. And I think that is because the secondary had been biting so much on the definitely biting on the run that much, and he just threw it right over the top. And it was like, great. Another thing that I've took away from that game is that Atwell is going to be great for Louisville. He's a beast. Tutu Atwell.
Yeah. Yep.
I think he's going to be really good for them this year. But, and of course, special teams, A+ effort, guys. I mean, as far as that's concerned, I thought they did a great job. What did you think about the interception?
Oh, where it was like bobbled like 7 or 8
times.
There
was like 8 guys that were just.
The thing is that they would have had better field position if they didn't intercept it. So they should have just let it fall. That was the thing that sucked about it, is they did all of that work just to keep the ball, and then if they just would have done nothing, they would have had better field possession. But I mean, it's just small stuff like that. I mean, you want to try to get the stats.
Hey, it's a great highlight reel. Okay.
Yeah.
I was watching that and I was like, first off, I was like, I think that's an interception. Just watching it, not even rewinding it.
It's like hot potato.
Yes. It was so funny though. I was just like, are you kidding me? This is great. And I mean, of course the refs are the whatever you call those guys. The analysts were like, well, if they didn't catch it, it would be better. And I'm like, yeah, but you're not thinking about that during the play. You're just like, I'm going to get an interception. I'm going to get an interception. But
Yeah.
Alexander did great. I think he would probably be one of my
Yes, I was
defensive
really
players.
impressed with him.
He did great. Had that interception. He blocked a kick. Had a punt return for 23 yards. I mean, this kid did really good for Western on Saturday. Sorry, I went blank for a second. But yeah, and Haggerty had 231 for and a 55 was the longest. And yeah, when you look at Lupo, do you remember when he looked into the stands and he said it wasn't on me?
No, I didn't see that.
Do you remember that part? Oh yeah, at one point.
I mean, my stream started cutting out a whole lot.
Well, of course, like I said, I just watched it today on YouTube, so it's a little fresher for me. But he, right after Alexander blocked the kick, the analysts were commenting because they watched him on the sidelines, and he looks up in the stands, I guess at a fan or a family member or whoever, and he said, "That wasn't on me." And I was like, "Oh, that looks really good, buddy." But as far as the Louisville game's concerned, the first, 1, 3, and 4, Western won. The only time we really didn't do so well was in the second quarter.
And that's what always bites us in the butt, at least against Louisville. It was the same thing last year. Like, if we wouldn't have laid an egg in the entire first half of that game, we probably would have won.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if you just have one bad quarter like that, that's all it takes. I mean, as a Pacers fan, I definitely know what that feels like.
If this game was not a first of the year game, if it was towards the end of the year, I definitely think Western would have been a lot better off.
Just the fact that we could have our passing game a little more established by then instead of right off the bat, because Piggy, he's going to have to throw the ball, because if they just, like future teams, if they know that he's going to run the ball, they're just going to stack the line, and they're just going to be ready for it every single time. They're going to have to force him to throw. I mean, they'll catch that pretty easily, and he's going to have to learn how to do it either, or else we could end up getting beat up pretty bad.
The bad thing is even on some of his quick option plays, he's getting rid of it way before he should.
Yeah.
The defenders rushing him, and yes, that's the correct read, is to pitch it, but at the same time, if they're just running upfield, you don't just go ahead and pitch it. You got to keep it. If they're going to your pitch guy, you keep it. If they go to you, you pitch it. It's an option. It's basically the clear cut, but you have to be able to read it on the fly. And just, of course, being an armchair critic, you got to be able to do that stuff on the fly. You got to be able to do it quickly. And I think a lot of that hurt us, or some of it hurt us. But I think he's going to develop. I think he's going to be a great quarterback for us this year. I hate that he has a horrible nickname like Piggy, but
he's going to be more of a running style quarterback, which I don't think we've really seen since Kwan Jakes. Is that about accurate, you think?
K1 couldn't throw. But yeah, K1 could throw. Let me back up.
But I mean, if you look at who we've had since then, I mean, we've had Dowdy, we've had Mike White, we've had all of these big arm guys that they would always be passing first, and now kind of going back to more of a run-based quarterback offense. I think it is a little bit of an adjustment for fans to be able to not see us put up huge numbers like 300 to 400 yards per game or anything like that, but just a little more modest numbers.
See, Matt holds a higher opinion of K1 than I do. I like K1 as a person. Don't get me wrong. I'm not talking about that, but his legacy, I was never a big fan. If you want to talk about a rushing quarterback, Willie Taggart was the infamous rushing quarterback for Western, because what he did, the big joke in the training room is that when normal quarterbacks ice their shoulders after games, Willie had to ice his knees. So I mean, that just kind of goes to show you how that goes. But as far as like who I would compare play style to Piggy, I would Ty Story's probably one of the closest, I would think. K1 was not very quick. I think Piggy is probably, probably a second or two faster. And as far as throwing goes, I would say currently K1's probably a better passer than Piggy is. But I think,
Small
like I
sample
said,
size.
do what?
I say like it's a small sample size. We can't really judge off of just one game completely.
Yes.
Compared to Jake's career.
But I think Piggy has potential. I think he's got Ty Story potential.
Yeah, I mean, as long as he can make those kind of 10 to 15-yard passes that Story would do, like he would just keep the passes going, even if it was just like those smaller screen passes or just those little hooks or whatever, just being able to drive the ball downfield with those short passes. I mean, that does a lot. You don't really have to be going for the deep ball every other play or anything like that, but just being able to control the line of scrimmage and keep the drive going, that's all that really matters.
I agree. So looking at team stats real quick, first downs, Western had 12, Louisville had 22. Third down efficiency, we were 4 of 12, they were 9 of 16. Fourth downs, we were equal, 1 and 3. Total yards, Louisville had 487. 343 of those were passing and 144 were rushing. Now, this is where you definitely see that the secondary is a kind of a crutch for Western or a handicap. Western had 129 or had 248 total yards, 129 passing. Louisville's was 343. Western was 10 of 23 completions. Louisville 19 of 34. But yards per pass, Western had 5.6, so basically 6, and Louisville had 10 yards per pass. That's an automatic first down, basically every pass. And they had one interception. But that's where, I mean, that's for me on if you're doing on average yards per pass, that's your handicap because, you know, you got to either knock it away or, you know, that like you said, that one quick catch. I mean, basically in the first drive, Western sales went out by that one play. When that I can't remember, I don't think it was Tutu, but it was one of the other guys caught that quick slant right across the middle of there, right in front of one of Western's guys going for the interception, and it was just like, you know, it's like, man, you know, you could just visibly see the sales being, you know, let out. But as far as turnovers, Louisville had 2 and Western had 1. We just didn't capitalize on their turnover. They had a fumble and they had an interception. You got to capitalize on those.
And another thing, I don't know what I want to know your thoughts on this. The onside kick that Western did. Do you think that went 10 yards? Because I sure think it did, but then no one looked at it.
I think it did. I honestly, if it wasn't an ACC official, I think you should have looked at it.
Yeah, like I don't know why Coach Helton he wouldn't have challenged that. I would have.
I think he was holding it in his back pocket because he was afraid something else would come up, but I don't know.
No, when you have something that you're definitive of, like they showed it on the replay too, and it looked like it was right at that 10-yard line that it would went across. So, I mean, that could have been something that completely changed the game because Western would have had better field possession. They would have kept Louisville from having a long drive and eating up a bunch of clock and could have done something with that. But, I mean, it's one of those things where I mean,
I agree. It doesn't, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, Jake would probably be eating it up right now, but I'm just not as concerned about something like that because in my mind, Helton has kind of earned a pass on a little slip up like that. You know what I mean? I think he's an intelligent coaching person as far as that goes. So, and I mean, it's Louisville. It sounds bad, but I kind of want to get out of there anyway, you know? I mean, but I think I predicted the score last week. Y'all have to go back and listen. 35-21. It was a 2-possession game like I thought. But, you know, I hate to be right on those kind of predictions. I'd rather us be 35 and them 21. I did like how Louisville, every time you looked in the stands, you saw fans. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that it would have been full even if they had opened it up for everybody. I did have a funny thing that I saw during the game. Did you see the part where they were going through the ACC attendance and Wake Forest can only have 100 people in the stands?
Yeah, where it's only like friends and family of the players or
I
whatever.
was like 100. I was like 100 people,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah,
That's
because I watched
hilarious.
them play Clemson on Saturday, and they only had like the family of the players in attendance.
Well, I
But I
mean,
mean, if you're going to be pumping in crowd noise and everything, I mean, it doesn't really make that much of a difference, honestly. Because I mean, if you
yeah.
didn't have the crowd noise and only had just a few people in there, I mean, that would do absolutely nothing to the game. So
So there were several schools that were not allowed to have any fans or anything. Do you still have like dance teams and cheerleaders at that point, or is it
well, I
just
mean, what would the purpose be?
one more time?
What would the purpose be?
I agree. I
Because
mean,
I mean, if you're like the marching band, I understand because they can still like do the halftime show and it can be recorded and everybody would still watch it. But I mean, as far as like having the interactive kind of cheerleaders and stuff like that, I mean, what are they going to do? Just throw T-shirts out to nobody?
yeah, that would be actually really funny. But I don't know. I mean, I could definitely see like a dance team. I mean, like not, they could have like a little thing during, timeouts or something. I don't know. I'm just
Yeah.
spitballing here.
Mhm.
But it's to each his own. I mean, you get the world we live in. You kind of got to do the best you can with what with what you
I mean,
think. And if I was the head of a school, I don't even know what I would do, honestly.
it could be worse. We could be Old Dominion fans.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just heads up, we would not be having the podcast right now if they canceled the
Yep.
season. We'd just be waiting until basketball, maybe. Which have they canceled basketball? Are they waiting?
I still don't know for sure. I mean, I haven't really kept up with that. I just know where they're not doing football this year, and I'm just like, okay.
I don't know how financially you can do that as an institution. As much as
Yeah, I
people
mean,
complain about academics being second fiddle to sports kind of helps pay the bills on some of those things.
just playing a team like Alabama or Ohio State, you get almost $2 million. Think
Yes.
about what all that does.
Yeah, it keeps the lights on for several months. Yeah, definitely.
Mhm.
And I mean, of course, the price of education right now is ridiculous anyway, but that's a separate debate.
Mhm.
Okay. I've kind of been slow balling so to see if Ross would get his kids to sleep, but let's go ahead and start talking about Liberty.
Mhm.
I have no stats on Liberty. Have they even played yet?
I'm not sure if they've played yet. I know that Ross did an interview with a Sea of Red, which is one of the Liberty blogs. So we that's up on the towel rack if anybody wants to go read it. It's pretty in depth talking about Liberty football and sort of like their transition into FBS and where they're at right now. But they're a program that's on the rise. I mean, they have someone that has coaching experience in Power Five. I mean, Hugh Freeze, he was at Ole Miss for however long. So I mean, they have someone that knows what to do. I mean, they went 8-5 last year, went to a bowl game. They still have a lot of depth despite losing some core players that they had last year at running back and a few other positions. So I mean, I think this is going to be a lot closer match than people will they'll be like, oh, Liberty. I mean, that's like that Christian college in Virginia or something, isn't it? And then just kind of gloss over it, but they've done pretty good, and they are independent as well, which
Yes.
I think is really interesting. They don't have a conference yet. Like they say, their facilities are good enough to be like AAC level or anything like that, but I doubt they would ever be able to go up that far. But I mean, they still put together a solid schedule. They play some pretty good teams. I think this is going to be a good home test for us to have the second game of the year. I hope it's to where we can be able to get some passing game opened up. We really need to be doing that if we want to have a chance come conference. But this will be a game I would not sleep on. I mean, if we can get beat by Central Arkansas one year, I mean, Liberty, it was 8-5 and has Hugh Freeze as their head coach. I mean, there's no telling what they're capable of.
I will say my biggest takeaway. I, First off, definitely read the Q&A that Ross did with the Sea of Red. But the big thing I'm taking away here is we're going to see Josh Mack. That name definitely sounds familiar because he played for Maine. He was an FCS
Oh
leading
no!
rusher in 2017. He was second string last year, but he still had 800 yards. So,
Wow!
yeah. So
Just
that
by
right
having that main connection automatically changes how I think this game was going to go.
Yes. So that is definitely going to be a nightmare on Elm Street for us. Their quarterback, Malik Willis, is a dual threat quarterback transfer from Auburn who had to sit out last year. We'll just have to see how it goes. I don't know. Just kind of skimming here, but yeah, it's definitely. I'm gonna. So fun thing. The guy. Spoiler alert. The guy that predicted it said Western would win. I'll let you all see the score. But definitely check that article out. That's a definitely good article. Great thing that Ross put together. Liberty Q&A with a sea of red. So it'll kind of help you out, show you what to expect. If you go to ESPN right now, it shows Liberty has no games. They are independent, as Jared was talking about, but the spread thus far has Western at a 14.5.
I think that's awfully generous.
I'll take 14.5. If we win 28-14, I'll be happy. However, let's see. The last 5 games they have played, they played Georgia Southern on the 21st of last year and won 23-16. Mm-hmm. New Mexico State 49-28, and they lost 55-27 to Virginia. So, I mean, there's either they won big or they lost big. Basically, the closest game they had was BYU, and they lost 31-24. So yeah, I mean, I think
that shows that they're pretty high level, because BYU, I mean, they're always a consistently good team, and to be able to play them that close, I mean, we'll see. I don't know. What do you want to do? Score prediction?
Let's wait a little bit.
Okay.
Let's see if Ross will come on here in a little bit, and we'll just go from there. But ESPN has Western at a 72% of winning this game.
Awfully generous.
Yeah. I think it's probably closer to 60%.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I agree.
Yeah, and it's this is a new thing I'm going to have to get used to. I'm looking at the season leaders thus far for Western. Passing yards, we got Piggy T, 129 with a touchdown. Rushing, Piggy T, 17 carries for 68 yards. And then Jacor Pearson with 5 receptions, 67 yards. Definitely going to have to get used to seeing our quarterback in the rushing category too. But
now, if he shows up in the receiving category, that's when I'll get concerned.
Hey, if he throws and catches his own passes, then I think it's time just to go on to the league and just leave us alone, I guess. So I guess let's go ahead and do score predictions, I guess. What do you think, buddy?
All right. See, I think a lot of people's optimism is shattered after Saturday, which I don't think it should be, because, I mean, Cunningham, he's a great quarterback. He put up big numbers.
Yes.
And he exposed a lot of the weaknesses that we have. But at the same time, I think ever since we put Liberty on the schedule, I thought it was a trap game, because we played FCS teams at their level and lost really bad. And Liberty, as much as I like to think that they're FCS level and everything, they're a pretty good program. They have a good coach. They have a really solid team. So y'all may hate me, but I'm picking Liberty to win 23-21.
Oh my gosh, man, that's a close one. That's a heartbreak.
Yeah, I think it'll be close. It is, but the thing is that we still have so many kinks that we got to work out, especially on offense, and also the secondary is what I'm worried about. Because if Willis, their quarterback, if he's able to get a rhythm going and just start exposing all those holes in the defense, then it's going to be a long night. I think they'll be able to contain his running, but it's going to be the throwing is what. I think that they saw that in the Louisville game. I imagine that they'll be able to look at that game and see all the weaknesses that we had. So, I mean, the secondary is going to have to step up a lot, but we'll see.
I think you're right in a way as far as the secondary is going to definitely have to step up, because it's going to be a fight for Western on Saturday against Liberty. Is the game televised at all, or is it just on the IMG?
Yes, it's going to be on ESPNU at 11 o'clock Central Time.
Okay, yeah. Okay,
And
11
it's going to
a.m.
be perfect weather too. I don't know how many people listening will be able to go to the game, but if you can, it's going to be absolutely perfect football weather. It's going to be sunny, like a high of in like the mid 70s. It's going to be in the 50s that night beforehand. It's going to be perfect weather.
I think so. I mean, honestly, the wife and I sat outside last night with Abby, and it was chilly, but it's that time of year, you know. It
Finally,
yes. I honestly I hate hot weather. I'm a fall person
same.
through and through. Um, but it gets me excited because I'm like, it's football season. It's chilly outside. You know, just need a little chili to go with it, and we'll be set. Um,
Mhm.
but yes, I'm gonna say that it'll be 24-21 Western. I think that quarterback is definitely going to be a challenge for us. I'm hoping D'Angelo Malone is the answer to that problem. Him and Eli Brown,
Mhm.
and I'm
Yeah.
hoping Devin Key can kind of step up on the leadership role for the secondary, and that the defense will step up. I think we're still going to have issues on offense, but I think we can still pull ahead. I'm going to be optimistic. Um, if you be negative Nancy, I'll be positive Pete, and we'll see how this goes.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, if you look at the Louisville game, we could have had chances to win that, but at the same
Yeah,
time, we also had chances where we could have gotten absolutely blown out. Like if you take away that touchdown that we got after Louisville's kicker screwed that up, and we took over at like the 2 yard line, it would have been an even bigger deficit for us. So I mean, it's small things like that. I mean, I just didn't see enough out of our offense yet to be fully confident going into this game. But I mean, that's me.
I try to be positive about it, but I agree. Um, there are definite downsides to our play so far, but I think there are things that can be worked out. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely,
So
yeah.
there's kinks, but I think Tyson Helton can work around a few of these. So we'll just have to see. I don't know.
And even
But
if we do lose, it's not the end of the world. I mean, we still
no.
have plenty of conference games, and I think that once we get to conference play, I think we'll be in a lot better shape.
Do we know the capacity at LT Smith yet? Is it
I think
20%?
it was yeah, it's 5,000, 1,000 that goes to students.
Okay, so basically 4,000. Man, I bet that's going to be tough getting tickets if
Yeah,
you're
I
not a
don't know.
season ticket holder.
I haven't really dabbled into that to see how hard it would be to get a ticket to a ball game right now.
I
But I
don't blame you.
imagine it's a little bit more difficult because I mean, you still have the season ticket holders that would probably have first dibs and stuff like that, and then just general admission after that. And
I, I
it'll
would
be
almost
different.
assume. I would almost assume that like what? Let's see. If you got 5,000 fans, you got 1,000 going to students. What 1,500 go to season ticket holders, and
Yeah.
then you got the what other 1,500 or 2,500 that go to the regular. I don't know. I haven't
Yeah.
heard how they're doing it. So,
Yeah, I mean,
but
if you're in Bowling Green and you are feeling pretty good, you haven't been exposed to COVID in the past 14 days, go to a ball game. It'll be
yeah.
fun. Just
How many
wear a
times?
mask.
How many times do you get tired of hearing that question when you go into a business,
Oh,
though?
God. Every
Have you
single
been
day at
exposed to
work.
anyone? Well, I wouldn't be here if I had
Literally
been.
yes, exactly. Like we have this thing on our iPads that we have to do. Like it's the whole slew of questions. Be like, do you feel this way? Have you been exposed to someone? Have you had like indirect contact? I'm just like, listen, trust me, I would be as far away from this place as possible if I even
Yes.
felt bad. So yeah.
Yeah. Have you traveled outside the country? What do you think? I've been here,
I travel to Tennessee every day.
Yeah. Yeah. That's basically outside the country.
I know.
I've been to Tennessee. I know how bad it is down there. Um,
Oh yeah.
so I said 24-21. You said what was
23-21 Liberty.
23-21. So we're both in the 20s. I think this game is going to be a lot different than actually what ESPN's saying. Um,
Mhm.
it- I don't do gambling, but I don't see Western scoring 30 points. I
Me
might be
neither.
wrong, but we'll see. Yeah, the team rankings and number fire have Western 33, Liberty 19, and the other one is 30-19.
Mhm.
I'm sorry. I know Louisville's defense was really tough the other night, but I just don't see us scoring 30 points yet. It's
Yeah.
possible.
But see, here's the thing though that's crazy is that it was like the main game when we played them. We went off on a 21-0 start and absolutely blew it up in the first quarter. We were doing so good. And then as the game progressed, we just kind of let the foot off of the gas and then everything screwed up. But I mean, I hope that doesn't happen Saturday, but we'll see.
Ross, we have just basically concluded talking about Liberty. Do you want to talk about the ticketing that you were telling me about?
Sure.
Yep. Can't hear you, buddy. It helps if you stand on one foot and hop up and down.
Can you hear me?
There
Yes.
we go.
The link why I do that. If I lose you, just let me know. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah,
yes,
you're good.
yes. We can still hear you now.
Okay. Yeah, I know I saw that earlier today, and let's see. And this is just great podcasting.
That's okay.
So I know they came out today. Basically, if you plan to attend games, here's the new guidelines. COVID regulations. So you have to wear a mask. There's 1,000 student tickets available, and then I think the other 4,000 are all to season ticket holders. You can kind of go on the website. I think tailgating is prohibited, but you can park and stuff. So let's see. No, it says tailgating reserve lots will open. Tailgating is discouraged, including the South Lawn, but I guess that's. And you can't use tents, grills, generators because they don't have any fun. So I went to the Louisville game last weekend, and we just pre-gamed at our friend's house to kind of get around that. So it was pretty much glorified tailgating. So it wasn't bad.
So let me ask your thoughts on the Louisville Western game real quick. What did you think Saturday night?
I think a combination of Louisville's a pretty good team and Western missed a lot of opportunities.
I agree with that. As a Western/Louisville fan, I guess, what did you think of the kicker at Louisville?
The punter, he was not good. Well, I mean, I think him and Kincaid on Western basically canceled each other out, if that makes any sense.
Yes.
Because Kincaid makes those two plays where the ball was thrown right at him and either makes the tackle or intercepts the pass or knocks it down or whatever, then the game's really tight. But also on the other end, if Louisville's punter wasn't completely inept, then it could be a blowout. So I think they kind of canceled each other out, and then you saw it was a 21-point game. I mean, it was just frustrating. Piggy didn't really know. I mean, I think you worded it right on Twitter. It's like it's the first game, the COVID off season. I think the Tinsley and Burt look like they could be pretty good receivers, but they just there just was no rapport yet. And then I know Josh Simon dropped that touchdown pass, but other than that, I don't think they really even targeted him.
Did Josh Simon even touch it? I thought he was overthrown, really.
So that was an overthrow, not a drop.
I think it was an overthrow, and that's what I was telling. That's what I was telling Jared just now. Is my takeaway. I sat down and watched it. I thought Alex was on too. But anyway, my takeaway from it was Josh Simon was just livid Saturday. Just the reaction after that pass, he just was not happy whatsoever.
That was a big game. You got to think for those kids, like Malone, he probably really helped his draft stock on Saturday.
Yeah.
Somebody like Simon, or any of these guys that are probably, fringe NFL draws. Simon's got a couple years left. It's not that huge deal. But this was their big showcase game. That BYU where, okay, I'm going up against kids that are more highly rated or more talented or whatever you want to call them. And, you look at for every D'Angelo one that balled out, you have somebody like Jawan Jones who kind of was shut down, or our offensive line who didn't look for that good, or, Josh Simon, who was very, very quiet, despite the year before kind of balling out against Louisville. So,
Well, that's
I mean,
that's one thing I
I
was
just think, okay, first game jitters. I would have loved for that game to have been the fourth game of the season, not the first game of the season, where Louisville wasn't completely focused on Western. Western had worked out the kinks. And then, I mean, I think it would have probably been a little bit more even at the end of the day.
Yep, you're preaching to the choir. I completely agree with what you said. There were aspects of it that I think both of us were not really happy about, but
You guys still there?
yeah.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Hello?
Okay, you can't hear us now, but that's fine. So yeah, we're talking about the Louisville Western game. There was things that we both weren't happy about, things we were happy with. But at the end of the day, if it was later on in the season, I think it would have been a lot closer game for Western. Ross, can you hear us?
Yep, everything's clear as crystal now.
Okay.
Sweet.
What did you think of the defense?
I mean, it's kind of hard with the combination of, the offense really not giving them much of a break, and then Kincaid just not making plays. So I think, you look on the surface, it was like, man, they just didn't make plays, and they got how many yards did Louisville finish with? Almost 5.
Yeah, it was. Sorry, let me go back to that.
I think at moments they showed they can, they'll be fine in Conference USA. They'll be fine on Saturday against a Liberty. It's just, you can't, when you're going against receivers and a quarterback like Malik Cunningham, you can't make those mistakes. You either got to knock the ball down, or you can't just whiff on deep passes.
Well, and that was one thing that we took away from it, watching the game and seeing stats, is that, as we've agreed, Piggy definitely has his favorite receivers he likes to throw to. I don't know if Josh Simon actually got that many passes besides that one that was thrown at him. But Ja'Cour Pearson is definitely a definite favorite there. And another thing we took away from the Western, the rushing game anyway, is that Gage Walker's not going to be pulling the majority of the weight this year.
I don't know if that's really the case. I think, they asked me that in that Liberty Q&A today. I think the game, after the second quarter, they were so far behind, it was really hard to even run the ball, period. They were playing catch up, and yeah, he didn't finish with the best stats, but really after so you think about it, he scores from 1 yard on the first play, then I think Then Louisville scores after that big 3rd and long or whatever, and gets whatever. And then they do that long pass play where Pearson fumbles it. So there goes any rushing opportunities there. And then from there on out, there really wasn't that much opportunity. Like the third quarter, I just remember them going boom, 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 scoring fast, fast, fast. And next thing you know, they're down 21 at halftime. When you're down 21, you can't run the ball. I mean, if you do, it's just as that.
I'm not saying that. I'm not blaming Gage in any way, form, or fashion. But last year, Gage Walker did not come out of the game. And if he did, it was because they needed an extra receiver or whatever. But
Helton admitted he wants to keep him fresh this year, which I don't think, when you're getting blown out, I don't think that's a bad idea either.
No, I completely agree. He had 9 carries, 19 yards, but we had Whittington who came in, Staples who came in, and then Jakari Moses, who we missed last year because of an injury, but this year, he's doing great.
I think Moses would have played a lot last year. Maybe not he would have been that third down guy out of the backfield who would catch passes or something.
Definitely.
I like that Whittington kid. I think he could be a good player.
I do too.
Same.
Whittington, and on the defensive side, Alexander.
Alexander's a senior. People just he played. Yeah, he's a EKU transfer. He played on special teams last year, and he was just they've got such a deep senior laden team. He kind of gets lost in the shuffle, but he showed out on Saturday.
Yeah, what is it? 23 seniors Western has. That is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Chug.
That was just a Coke.
It's all good.
That's what they all say.
So yeah,
I'm usually having a cold one for one of these, but
yeah, it's all good. So what are your thoughts on Liberty?
Okay. I don't know. Did you guys discuss anything from my piece that came out today?
I kind of skimmed it a little bit and just talked about Malik Willis and Josh Mack.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, it looks like if you look at kind of their stats from last year and who they beat, they had probably the most empty 8-win season ever. I don't think they beat anybody with a pulse. They beat like the UMasses and New Mexico States. I think their best win was their last win of the season against Georgia Southern. So they, kudos to them. They beat who they were supposed to. They had a bowl game, in Hugh Freeze's first season. But they lost their three-headed monster of players on offense after that, plus their 10-sack defensive linemen. So basically they're replacing all their impact players, a 1,300-yard receiver, 1,000-yard rusher, I think like a 3,000-yard quarterback. So I just don't have any faith that first game out of the chute without, if you just look how Western played the first game, I don't have any faith that they're going to be firing all cylinders, even if that Willis kid was good enough to play at Auburn,
Yeah. Yeah, I think I scared Jared with talking about that kid playing from Auburn. And then, of course, Josh Mack coming back from Maine.
But did he play against – I don't think he played – so if I read that right from the guy from Acia Red, I think he played at Maine the year before Sanford lost to them. And then he transferred
it was
and played
17, so I don't know.
17. Let's see. I'm trying to think. 17, we played. I think 18, we played Maine, and it was after Wisconsin. So it was Sanford's last year.
I don't know, but that name sounds really familiar, and I don't know why.
Lil Mac.
Maybe that's what it was. But yeah. So I've made my prediction. It was 24-21 Western. And Jared, what was yours?
It was 23-21. I chose Liberty, though, just because we are cursed with our home openers. We haven't even beaten FCS schools the past 2 seasons. Even though it's not our first true game, I still think that if the Willis is good enough to be able to find the holes in our secondary, that they can still run all over us.
Yeah. It's, of course, they're independent and they're new and I can definitely see that. I kind of agree with Jared in a way. The offense did not impress me, but I don't know if we'll have as big an issue with Liberty as we think.
Yeah,
I think they'll have the first game jitters, kind of like we had the first game jitters, where I think Western could have really used that tune-up against Chattanooga before the Louisville game, just to get the kinks out, get the new quarterback going, get just find out what you didn't do. What people forget about the Central Arkansas game last year, it really gave Western some stuff to work on. So they got burned bad, against that really good receiver on Central Arkansas, and then there's only 1 or 2 other times that the secondary even had a problem last year. So just getting that game speed, getting those reps, getting those things against somebody besides your teammates running up across from you, I think that's going to really give Western the advantage. And, just the returning production, talent, everything else. That's why I predicted 37-17. It's not because I think Western's great or is a finished product. It's just I think there's too many unknowns with Liberty right now.
So I've got the main stats from 2018. We did not play them in 17. We played them in 18. And I guess Josh Mack wasn't there. What was ODU's running back? Is that where I'm thinking of? Khalil Mack, maybe?
Return of the Mac. I don't know.
I have no idea. This name just sounds really familiar, and I have no idea. But anyway.
Marlon Mack on the Colts, who just tore his knee up.
Maybe it's Chris Mack. Yeah, who knows?
Chris Mack from U of L.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm literally like the guy that's just sitting here, and I'm like squirrel. Yeah. But no. I think Western will do okay. Like we said, it's a ESPNU, 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Whatever Central. So definitely check the game out. If you are not one of the fans that can go to the game, I was just looking on Western's website trying to figure out on tickets, and the only tickets they're selling are for basketball. So
Yeah, I looked at that today. They're not even on StubHub or anything. So
now,
I mean, basically, I guess you could maybe go up there and try to scout. Which is, I'm shocked there's not just somebody who's like, yeah, I'll sell them for $50 to see if anybody bites, but apparently not. So
I mean, it wouldn't. I mean, if I had season tickets, I would probably do that.
I mean, depending if you had to work or something.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if you want to go to the,
yeah, you want to go to the Marshall game, but you don't really care about Liberty. Yeah, I mean, see if somebody wants to wow you with an offer or something.
yeah, give me, $100 or something, a ticket or something. I don't know. So yeah, that's all I've got tonight, guys. Check back with us next week. We'll be talking about the Liberty recap, hopefully Western's first win of the year. And we'll be talking, well, actually, Western will have a bye after this week.
Then Middle Tennessee, yep.
Yes, and then we'll play MTSU. I'm hoping some of these games are going to be on TV. We'll hope.
I think that one's on ESPN, but they haven't announced it yet. So I think if we win, we might get like an ESPNU. If not, it'll be like ESPN3.
I was going to say,
big difference. Freaking Marshall is going to be on CBS this weekend.
I hate those guys. I'm just saying.
Same. But it shows. I mean, they still, as long as you're winning, I mean, they have a good historic program and everything. I mean, they've already had that ESPN game and now on CBS. That's going to be pretty big for them.
Yeah, that just shows how, I mean, as much as we hate Marshall, we need them to be good for the league to be good. And then we just need to beat them when we have a chance. Because with the Pennington and the Leftwich and Randy Moss and all, they have way more history than, and can be a little bit of a name draw as opposed to us, who's a directional school. So,
well, yeah. Well, we tried to go away from the direction, but yeah, you know how that goes. But yeah, my thought is that even with the schools, with the Big Ten and the Pac-12 canceling or rescheduling or whatever you want to call it, you think that some of these smaller schools or conferences like Western would have gotten a lot more TV deals, but
they did, but until
USA.
Yeah, it's only good for 3 weeks until the SEC comes back or until the whatever. So basically, they took advantage. They made hay while the sun shone, and now it's after that it's going to be a little bit of a struggle. But we're still stealing games from the MAC and Mountain West and stuff like that too. So
hey, that's fine with me. I am not worried about those guys whatsoever. But Ross, I'm glad you could join us. Sorry. Couldn't be flexible this week with the little one because she's a little sunshine.
How old is she now?
7 months.
7 months, man. Congrats.
She'll be 8 months in 2 weeks.
There you go. Well, yeah, just let me know. I'll try to be flexible. About after 8's probably better for me on that kind of stuff. Or even starting at 7:30. So
well, I'll just dip into my personal life a little bit here. The good and the bad is that one of us, my wife or myself, have been going to the grocery, and so tonight was grocery night, and the wife was there. So we started out the podcast with Abby with us, and she was being quiet, and it was really funny watching her listening to Jared talk. But everything went well, and that's just how it goes sometimes. You just have to be flexible and roll with the punches sometimes. So, but glad you could make it, Ross. Prayers for Alex. Hopefully he starts feeling better. I'm not going to out him or anything, but he's not feeling the best. So hopefully next week we'll have Alex with us.
Did he make it on last week's podcast? I only listened to half of it.
No, he did not. Nope, just me and Jared.
Okay, I thought.
But hopefully next week, like I said, I don't want to pressure him into coming back on the show until he feels better. So
we miss you, Alex. We miss your Titans and Tops enthusiasm.
Definitely. But that's all I've got tonight, guys. Like I said, Western plays this weekend. ESPNU, 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 p.m. or 11 a.m. Central. So check back with that. Follow the Towel Rack. Follow Redout. And as always, guys, go Tops.
Go Tops.
Go Tops.